the right roads in the right place that we can live with as a land manager. There might not be permanent routes, all that type of stuff. It's about building the trust. It's that fudge. Keep going on about the fudge. And, you know, we might have to say no to some, but equally we're not just saying no, we're going, look, no there, but potentially yes here, and sort of build on that from there. But it's just that fudge. I keep banging on about that, but that's what it is. There isn't black and white. There isn't like definitive answers. It's a bit like you never know when you're in the civil cases and stuff how the judge is going to react to what you've done, but at least you've made a decision and you can prove that decision, and it's up to them under that kind of balance of probabilities. So who does he believe the most? Who does he think's been reasonable as to what they'll actually decide? And having stuff like that in place is a big help to us as land managers.
If I could just come in on that to give you a perspective from Quilcha as well, I think it's important for landowners and land managers to set out a position in writing as to, you know, how you want to manage this, and do that in consultation with clubs or with representative bodies as well. And what we found has worked well for us, albeit us reacting rather than being proactive, has been that in 3 or 4 of our forests we enter a license agreement with clubs who come to us and look for permission effectively to build informal trails in forest areas. And that's worked well because we've been able to then engage with them and explain to them what some of the issues are from our point of view around commercial forestry, around waymarked informal routes in the same forest, whether they're either for mountain biking or walking. And it's meant that we've been able to encourage them to do things which are important to us, like, you know, if you are seeing other riders coming in and using the trails that you're building in our forest, put your arms around them, bring them into the net, bring them into the club structure that you have, and advocate for you know, responsible trail building. And as I say, we've sort of reacted to it in that we've waited until the approach has been clubs coming to us rather than us going out, you know, to I suppose seek out where all of the clubs are, or all of the trail builders are on our forests. But it certainly has, I think, helped us in regard to putting some structure on it.
Chris, do something? Sure. Yeah, there's one more observation.
Just 2 quick other points on that as well. Is from a local perspective here for you guys locally, you're on your own journey. Don't look at Scotland and go, why haven't we got there? Because they're 5 years ahead of us and we're maybe 5 years ahead of you. You're on your own journey. We've all made mistakes along the way. Learn from the things that we've done, and you won't waste 2 years making the mistakes that we've made. And so you'll catch up really fast. So don't get wound up by that. You know, it's kind of like having kids. It's your own journey. You're going to make that work as you go along. And if you're a land manager sat out there, or someone who's responsible for it, you know, take a little bit of, it's not all give, you do have control over it. I've got wild trail builders that ring me up and go, there's some guys digging in the woods. It's like, oh really, cool. And we go out and sort it out and we talk to them. So that same thing, having that cooperation. And so from a land manager point of view, if you're working with your local group and they're your police on the ground. They're going to help you, I'm not going to say stop the problem, but they're going to help you curb it and have an element of control over it. We always use in Wales the Snowdon Agreement. There's a totally non-legally binding agreement that nobody rides Snowdon through a set period in the year. And it's completely uncool to sit in the pub and go, hey, go ahead and do this. You will get absolutely slated by the mountain bike community if you said you rode that outside that agreement. It's not legally binding, it's just something the mountain bike community has gone, cool, we get it, we're not going to ride it during the busy period. So that's just kind of 2 things to take away.
Yeah, and to add to that, I would say just start small and sometimes as well. Like mountain bikers are not really good organized. It's getting a little bit better, but there are a lot of informal groups like light communities. They organize, but they're not organized by a legal entity or something. That comes later, probably. The moment the relationship is growing and getting stronger, you also see that, I guess, trail ferries in Glentress, they started as an informal group before they founded an association, etc. So you could start working with those groups even if they are not like a legal entity yet, but just with the perspective that they are growing and becoming a trail association and are able to enter partnerships, official partnerships, etc., or sign agreements. I would say that's the first small step to take.
Great, thank you. Great range of answers there. There must be somebody with a question out there. Great, Mike, good man. Leading from the front.
Just a question, maybe in Scotland, for instance, how those relationships were built initially, and where the local access forums a key mechanism by which that happened, or was it, how did you get the message out to those people, or did you literally go on the ground and find bikers?
Yeah, the initial stuff is like nicking their tools, so and try and get them to talk to you. Sometimes they're just like young kids, so you need them to bring their parents along as well. So yeah, there's a whole range. Sometimes people get in touch, other times you have to nick their tools. Local access forums good for if you've got an issue, like say horse riders are doing something, you don't have to kind of sort it yourself. You can go to the local access forum and go, we've got an issue with the horse riders, they're not respecting the kind of access legislation type stuff, and then the local access forum will deal with it, rather than us having to go to them and kind of go, horse riders, you need to stop doing that. But we haven't used that mechanism a lot, so local access forums can be quite kind of patchy. We don't always go to all their meetings. We go to the National Access Forum, but tend to be a bit patchy where we are with the LAFs, with the local access forums. But they are a mechanism that we can use. I haven't used it a lot, but intend to use it more in the future, especially since we've done the stuff with the National Access Forum. If that helps.
And as Dave said on his presentation, we do that kind of internal risk assessment based off the principles within the safety group, and then we put that signage out. We don't go, we're closing this trail. We're going, we've got an issue with this trail, and this is why. It's a triple SI, it crosses a public right of way, and there's a contact phone number at the bottom. So even if we don't have to nick their tools or directly meet the riders, pretty soon someone's going to ring us or email us, and you just need to watch who that point of contact is. It doesn't want to be a staff member that doesn't have that connection. It's that that shared connection. The first thing when anyone talks to me, whenever I meet a new group, the first thing they say is, "Do you ride?" Because they want that level of trust. And luckily, we've got staff that do ride bikes, that are passionate about riding. And so all of a sudden, you take all the barriers away. They're like, "Oh, okay, you ride bikes, I'm going to listen to you." But and it's quite hard if you're a local authority that don't have staff that ride. And you might find someone locally who can be your kind of go-between. In a previous life, I was a professional kayaker, and there was people that used to go and talk to the landowners wearing a suit, and then put a hoodie on and come and talk to the paddlers. And sometimes you need that intermediary to kind of make that work.
Great. There was another hand over here, I think, in this corner here. Yeah, go ahead and I'll come to you next. Yeah.
Deborah Mead from Quiltia, and sorry to, as Director of Stewardship and Risk, to bring up the word legal and the insurance issues that are out there at the moment. I think I had my legal litigation lawyer in the room today, and you heard John talk about fudging it, probably the resuscitation of the it's just, I suppose it's a question maybe again in the UK and how you look at it at a broader perspective. One people like using informal trails, I'm a mountain biker, but I also have the issue with our own chief executive for a commercial company and that proportion of the risk that is put upon our company because of the legal cases that we currently have at the moment. Have you discussed it at kind of that national level in the UK about an overarching insurance or some sort of common policy or risk management for this? Because again, each individual landowner has to ultimately defend their own cases that have come against them. But is there any consideration at a national level in the UK with regard to the management of that? And again, I don't know how to manage it in Europe as well. I've written mountain bikes in Europe. It just doesn't seem to be the same issue that we're facing here.
We'll go to John first and we'll widen the perspective out then. Great. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, two different legal systems, Scotland and England, and Wales have got one access legislation, one legal system. Scotland's got a slightly different legal system. Insurance-wise, no, can't afford insurance, so we just do self-insurance. And like our defence for the self-insurance stuff is making sure that we do our kind of inspections, have the records, all that type of stuff. Yeah, the fudge bit, the way the civil law works for us is balance of probabilities, so it's like who the judge believes the most, and it's about they'll sit and listen, and they're actually quite pragmatic. I mean, we have won cases with actually using the VSG guidance and stuff there. The judge sits and listens to what you've done and the decisions that you've made. I mean, some of my quotes from being in court and being in the witness box. Staff liked my top one was when I was saying to the judge, we're not the fun police. And the judge actually quoted that back to me in his judgment, where he's going, as Mr. Iron says, they're not the fun police. It's like, it's about trying to find the best way to manage this, you know, not ruin the very thing that people are wanting to do. So mountain biking, medium to high risk activity, over the handlebars on a mountain bike, complete lottery as to whether you walk away or not. Fall off sideways on the mountain bike, probably ain't too bad. Over the handlebars, complete lottery, as I say. How do we know that? We know that from other kind of accident investigation stuff and things like that. So that's the sort of thing when we're doing our kind of trail design and trail checks and what we're doing, we're sort of basing it on what reasonable man, so legal term, reasonable man. So you need to have a look at what you're doing and not doing and think, is that reasonable? How do we affect our neighbour? No such thing as at your own risk in the UK. We've always got a liability. It's just a kind of sliding scale of liability. And so far, we've managed to defend that. We haven't lost a case yet based on stuff that we've done, but we do pick our battles. It's like Kenny Rogers says in, you know, in The Gambler, know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to run away. And that's what it's like. So when you're making the decisions, it's like, you know, do we fight this one robustly or do we settle this one early? And that's based on, you know, kind of looking at what you've got, taking your legal advice from your lawyers and things. This is what we're facing, what do you think? You know, as I say, the claimants, 3 things to prove. You've got a duty of care, you failed in that duty of care, and that failure caused the injury. So that's actually quite a high bar. If you're doing stuff like you're supposed to do, you know, like your inspections, maintenance, construction, you know, working to like good standards and stuff, which is where your dirt stuff comes in, things like that. That's your defence. You know, we've done our best, my lord. This is what we did. We made this decision. We made that decision. What more could we have done? You know, this is like a high-risk sport. People have to take responsibility for their actions. You know? So that's where we kind of go. But as I say, it's like you have to pick your battles. If you haven't done the inspection, if you haven't got the records, you're screwed. So that's importance of stuff like, you know, the Tweed Valley Trail Association and stuff, doing the inspections, doing the records, being able to prove the kind of construction, why we've done it like that, competency, skills, knowledge, attitude, training, experience. It's not all about training, that experience and skills counts for a lot. There's a lot of skills and experience out there.
We have time for one last question before we break. There was a hand here I promised I'd come to, and then we'll break for lunch.
Hold that.
Stand up so everybody can hear you if you don't mind, please. Thank you.
We've had a difficult relationship with, and sometimes good, sometimes hits and misses with Belfast City Council with regards to trying to get official trails recognised in Cable Park. But one of the things that I've been trying to get the side of is the actual agreements that is having place with the clubs on the ground. Now, we've got one agreement, the Tweed Valley one from Scottish Forestry, but is there any work to establish a database of agreements or a model agreement that clubs and landowners can actually utilise going forward to build up a good relationship?
Thank you. So are there any agreements available between clubs and land managers to bear reference to, is what the question was? Yeah.
Well, I've got copies of all of the ones that are available in Wales, so if we exchange details afterwards, you know, I'm interested to hear what Danny's agreement looks like with clubs in Ireland, so that, you know, and because we're a public body, those things are just, you FOI us, we'll have to send it, but we can find a more agreeable way of exchanging information and to mutually share will have its benefits.
And we can potentially do it through the delegates as well, can we? If we touch base? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
sure.
ditto from Wiltshire.
Okay, there's a positive move forward. Okay.